Our first featured poet tonight is Donna Emerson. Donna has published 4 chapbooks and is introducing her 3rd full-length poetry collection at Aqus tonight, entitled Daphne Lifts Up. A Petaluma poet, she has won 2 nominations for Pushcart, 1 nomination for Best of the Net, and 2 nominations for the California Book Award. She's won several awards from the National Allen Ginsberg Contest, regional awards, and is a featured poet in many literary journals. Donna served 2 years as events chair at the Marin Poetry Center, and on the board there, she has taught poetry in Petaluma elementary schools as well as her Santa Rosa Junior College classrooms. She volunteered for 2 years at a memory care facility in Marin, leading patients in writing individual and group poems. Her background includes a 40-year private clinical practice in social work, 11 years as a school social worker in San Francisco, and 12 years as a medical social worker in Bay Area hospitals, including oncology and hospice. She's also worked as a professional photographer, and the covers of all of her 7 poetry books feature her own photographs. So let's give a hearty welcome to Donna Emerson.
Well, there's people leaving. I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad you're here too. I'm going to read tonight from my new full-length collection called Daphne Lifts Up. And I'd like to start by introducing the watercolorist who did my cover. Barbara Marlin, are you here that you can stand up and wave? There she is. And Barbara teaches at the Santa Rosa Junior College, as does Steve, our second reader, and as did I for 35 years, now retired. So I like that we have that in common. Okay. The book is not just about Daphne. I want to make that clear. Some people think, well, I don't know much about mythology and I don't want to read about those creatures flying around. But she's in the middle of the book. But the book is largely about nature, the nature around us, nature within us, and relationships based on our own individual natures. And probably, I realized that when I finished the book, it also represents in some way my lifting up with turning points in my life that are in the poems. So you'll know what that means when we get there. The first poem is written on our farm in New York, where my grandparents had a homestead and given to their children and then given to my generation. So my brother and I own quite a bit of land there, and we love to go there as often as we can. We have a wraparound porch on our cabin, so if you sit there, the birds will come to you. And if you stand on the steps, the birds will come to your hands because it's in the deep woods and they start to trust us. And so this is about one of those times. Hummingbird couple. The pearl gray hummingbird, wings aflutter, body still as a bullet at eye level. 3 feet from my astonishment. Same time as yesterday. She spies pink blouse, vanishes, a sharp right turn. Her mate repeats her visit, red throat bobs at my eyes. I would give him my shirt, rip it off in pieces just his size, if he would only stay. I want to pay dedication to my grandmother, who had a lot to do with who I became. And I think you'll like her when you hear about her. Her name was Mildred Bell Emerson. I took her name after my first divorce. Mildred Bell. I miss her, her fleshy arms. She never talked diets. She baked breads and cakes from scratch instead. Taught me to turn butter and cheese. She never wore makeup. Her stockings rolled up just above the knee. Black lace-up shoes below. She wore full aprons over nylon dresses, her hair strawberry blonde, in a farm-style French twist, loose, then gray, then white, and freckles everywhere. She spoke Tennyson and Frost from memory when they fit the moment, told family stories like the time she whacked Uncle James in the head with a log meant for the wood fireplace, calling him a mean, mean man. He was too. She knew all the names of the Black Panthers in the 60s and exactly where McNamara went wrong. She never hit me. She never screamed at me. Her entrances were quiet. She was listening. Okay. And on her farm, when we go there, about 5 years ago, we tapped the maple trees for syrup. You know, you can tap sugar maples and syrup will come out. And if you get 40 gallons of that syrup, you can make 1 gallon of that sap. You can make 1 gallon of syrup. So this poem is called Vernal Sap. We run with our pails to the sugar maples, marked last summer when leaves were easy to read. Tree crowns high and wide. Daughter taps the spile in place, knits several versions of ah as clear sap drips out. We discover an unexpected bush of sugar maples across the road from the original trees. Their seedlings must have blown straight across the road so that 9 young trees stand equidistant, most too young yet to tap. In a day, 15 trees are tapped, named, embraced for their beauty and their life force, given freely to us, as long as we protect them from harm. As did my mother, uncles, grandparents, and great-grandparents over the last 200 years in these woods. This marks the beginning of spring, when we see water flow for the first time under the ice on the road. Daughter finishes her work, hugs the tree, and names it eldest granddaughter. The gushing older tree by the old farmhouse we named grandmother. Her bark thick, scarred, lumpy in spots, like a darned sock, holds a fresh bit of sap where a vertical waist-high crevice sits. It must have access to her heartwood. This is one of the not so happy times, but I learned so much about myself and my mother. I had to write about it. The poem is called Bonnie. When I think of Nelson Mandela, I see Bonnie Rogers sitting next to me in McIntyre School's 2nd grade. Her face the color of strong coffee with a splash of cream, smiling bigger than the Susquehanna. Her freckles on her nose just like his. She taught me to suck my arm on the inside of my elbow. It made a red mark. You'll both get cancer, her grandma said. I took her home from school, where my mother wouldn't speak to me the entire afternoon, snapped at us both in the kitchen, wouldn't look at me except with hard slate eyes, like the witch in Snow White. When Bonnie left, Mother slapped me down, told me never bring that girl here again. Why? Because she's poor. We're poor too. I told Bonnie the next day that my mother wouldn't let her come home with me anymore. Bonnie and her cousin Irene called me a fool. When Nelson Mandela got out of prison and stood with his arms outstretched around all of Africa, I hoped Bonnie was watching. And when he died last week, I imagined we both were crying for all the people who didn't get to know each other. This was another moment, the kind you don't ever forget. It's called long distance. When I miscarried at home, the doctor was away. We spoke by telephone. Blighted ovum, he said, 1 in 5. We hadn't told my 2-year-old son, but while I was in the bathroom, he stood outside the door crying, saying, "I hope Mommy doesn't lose the baby." He hadn't been told. How did he know? My mother didn't answer when I called. My best friend was away. I called my sister, who listened quietly at first, that deep silence on long telephone wires. She said, "Can you think of some reason for this to happen?" I said no, feeling that as if I were falling into a dark cave. I told her what the doctor had said. "I mean, could there be some flaw in you that you need to fix right now?" "What?" I crawled to the surface. My puzzlement finally turned to self-protection. "You know, I don't feel this is helpful right now. Let's talk another time." And I slammed down the phone. I couldn't find a dictionary. Blight comes from nature, doesn't it? A blighted tree, like an act of God. Was that what he was saying? I liked that much better. I called my mother again, who answered. We wept. And many years later, when I was 53, I got pregnant again. Having 2 boys, I was very happy, but I wanted a girl. I found myself buying dolls, buying cats that would have kittens, and I thought, you know, I gotta have a little girl. Of course, you can't always tell what you're going to have, but I lucked out, and I wrote this poem about my daughter Juliet when she was 4 weeks old. Juliet Bell, named after Mildred Bell. I've lost the names of days, their assigned numbers, yet fluttering birds sing in the chimney at dawn. Winter clouds turn pink at first and last light. I live in the rhythm of new life, baby hunger and satiation, perched on my heart, latched on my breast, keen observer of her world. She thrusts upon us a blinking, soft rhymes of wonder and fresh hope. Now, I have 2 more poems, and I'd like to read part 1 of the prose piece in here, which is about meeting and becoming friends with Anais Nin. Do the women in the room at least know who she was? The 70s? Guys too? Okay, good. In friendship, Anais Nin. I only have time to read part 1, so you'll have to come to another reading or buy the book. I'd carefully planned every word I'd say to Anais when I first met her. The occasion was the Women's Celebration at UC Berkeley, December 1971. I went to see and photograph the writer who most captured my attention when I left my husband and lived alone for the first time in my life. My camera went into action as Anais swept across the stage in her floor-length winter gown. Using no flash at f8 for 130th of a second, I wonder if any of the 2 rolls would print. I took her as she read, as she spoke, every word elegant, beautiful to my ears. Her hands fluttered and pointed as a ballerina. Her voice so soft, you had to lean to hear.